Welcome to the WordPress Photography Podcast, the podcast for photographers who want to learn how to get the most out of WordPress to grow their photography business. You don't need to be a geek to understand WordPress. Settle back and listen as we show you how. Now, here's your host, Scott Wyden-Kivowitz.
Welcome to episode 101. My name is Scott Wyden-Kivowitz, and today we are going to talk about this pandemic going on and how it impacts photographers, photography business, your finances in general, your lives in general. Now, I'm not going to go into too many details. I'm going to do a quick overview because, well, we're in this. We're living it. So your photography business has most likely been impacted. You are having clients cancel, you're having events canceled, you're not having the photo sessions that you've had booked because either you have to cancel it or they've been canceled on you. And there's so many things that are going on that are costing you money, whether it's you losing money on these sessions or you having to pay for something that you didn't have to pay for before. For example, in my case, my wife is a teacher. She is still working, but she's now going to be doing virtual classes for her students, public school, by the way, at home. And she has to do this, her normal schedule, the 8 to 3 or whatever her normal schedule is at school. Now, I am here working at Imagely. We are a remote team, so I'm at home as well, working normal hours. My daughter has always been in her daycare, her preschool, and that is changing because now the preschool is closed and everybody's at home. That means that I have to have childcare to now watch 2 kids, which means I now need to pay for 2 kids with at-home childcare for my older daughter and my younger son. Instead of the one that I would have, I'd be paying for 1 child typically for at-home childcare. So it's going to get expensive. It's going to get expensive because now we have to buy more food, more groceries, and we now have to pay for more childcare at home. We now have to figure out the schedule of how this is going to work between my wife and I both working at home, and maybe our childcare doesn't want to come certain days because their children are at home as well. So we'll see. But we are impacted already. Already we are impacted, and it's just going to keep getting worse. Now, keep in mind, besides from certain things having to pay more, revenue coming in less, there's another issue. Our retirement accounts, our stocks, our 401ks, our IRAs, our Roths, they're all going down and down and down and down. It's kind of scary, actually. Now, this will bounce back. The economy will bounce back after everything is gone, but it will take time. It'll take far more time for it to bounce back than it did for it to go away. So with that, I want to share what you can do during downtime in a pandemic like we are in right now. So for one, you can update your site's on-site SEO. This is far easier than off-site SEO, but you can update your site's on-site SEO, internally linking where you need to, editing important landing pages and making them more SEO ready, more optimized for search engines. You could add table of contents that are good for schema on Google and Bing and things like that. You could also go off-site and update your Facebook page so it's more optimized, your Yelp listing, your Google My Business listing. You can do all the off-site things, these citations that'll help your local rankings so you come up better in search. These are things that you can do SEO-wise during this downtime to help your business so when the economy comes back, you are already doing better. Now, when you're on your site, you can also start thinking about more blog content. Whether you write the content or you just create quick drafts and come back to it later, start brainstorming new blog content. You can also edit some older work. Some older photos, right? So when I say older work, I mean multiple things. You can edit older photos that are in your catalog that you've wanted to revisit, that you just haven't had time to do. You now have time. So you could edit older photos. You can also edit older blog posts. Go back in your archives to the older blog posts and edit those as well. Now, if you have a lead magnet, then go ahead and update that. If this is what gets you your leads or a lot of your leads, update it, make it more up to date. You now have the time to do so. Or if you do not have one yet, create one. If you don't know what a lead magnet is, I recommend checking out my course, More Leads, More Clients, Lead Generation. And that can be found at my website, scottwyden.com. I will link to that in the show notes. On the same note, if you have a lead nurturing campaign in place, now might be a good time to analyze the stats and update it. Or if you don't have one in place, again, might be a good time to create one. We as businesses have workflows. We have systems for things. What happens when a lead comes in? What do we do? What happens when we mark this person as now it's an opportunity and then it's a booked job, and how do we do the bookings and all the stuff? We have these workflows and systems. If you don't have one, create one. If you do have one, audit your workflow and systems. See what's working, see what can be adjusted, improved, tweaked, and go ahead and do that. Again, you have the time. The last thing I want to mention, the things you can do during this downtime, is to update or create new contracts and agreements. If you don't have these already in place, you need some. I recommend the Law Tog. Our friend Rachel Branke has tons of contracts. I will link to that in the show notes as well, where you can get some contracts and then fill in the blanks for your own business. They're amazing contracts that are ready to go, and then you could tweak them further by sending them to your attorney and have them, fine-tuned for your specific location and situation. But otherwise, they're pretty general and work for most businesses. That's all the tips, these little tips that I want to give you, what you can do during the downtime. Now I want to share some additional links of places that you could go and read more about how, or listen to, because I'm on podcasts, about what you could do to improve your business further from during this downtime, or things you can do to help your clients during this pandemic. So there's a few links I'm going to include in the show notes. One is to Skip Cohn University. One is to Sprout Studio. They create a great, basically a database of content that's called First Aid, and it's fantastic. Then there's a great article from SLR Lounge. And then last but not least, again, Rachel Branke has a podcast episode talking about some of the legal aspects and things related to this pandemic. So if you would like to see these links and access all this content, go to imagely.com/podcast/101. I hope that you comment, share how you've been impacted. I know you've been impacted. It's obvious, right? This is something that is impacting the entire world. Everybody's affected by it, whether we're photographers or not. Okay, so go to imagely.com/podcast/101. Share with us in a comment how you have been impacted. What has been the worst thing, and how are you dealing with it? Now, I hope that you also will share this episode with your colleagues, your friends, your coworkers. Because this episode, while this is a WordPress photography podcast, this is for anybody, no matter the business type. Because what I just shared goes way beyond just photography. And by the way, if you didn't notice, this episode is audio only. We are testing out audio-only episodes, and we're doing this for a good reason, which maybe I'll talk about at a later time. Until next time, this is Scott Wyden, the Chief Community Officer here at Imagely, and I look forward to talking with you in episode 102.
You've been listening to the WordPress Photography Podcast. To listen to other episodes and to subscribe to the podcast via iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and more, please visit imagely.com/podcast.